Okay, hey guys, this is Dr. Sean, and we're doing Anatomy and Physiology. Today's Chapter 9. We're going to do some muscle stuff. So let's get into it. Okay, so this is Chapter 9. We're doing some stuff on muscles, and the first thing we have to do is some terminology. There's a lot of terminology with muscles, and there's a lot of confusion when you really get into it. The muscular system, the muscles, there's about 600 some odd muscles in the human body, and that's a lot. And there's going to be words like flexors and extensors and, adductors and pronators and supinators and all this kind of fun stuff. But we start at the beginning. We start to talk about what do we say, the function of muscle. Okay, the function of muscle is to 1, create heat, and 2, create movement, and 3, maintain posture. It moves the body, of course, based on its attachments to other muscles, or maybe the aponeuroses, or maybe tendons and stuff like that. So tendons attach muscle to bone. Remember, we had to do that one. But let's talk about a basic muscle. So a basic muscle. Okay, muscles basically are this kind of shape. Okay, this is funny because this is really blown up for me, and I'm drawing it really small, but it's way closer to you. So there's what's called the belly. Okay, and here we're going to put B-E-L-L-Y, and then we're going to say that this muscle is pulling something from this end towards this end. This is going to be the origin, and this is going to be the insertion. Now, the entire muscle itself is covered in a thing called the fascia. It's kind of like think of it a giant leotard that covers your entire body, that interweaves through the muscles and can cause problems if it gets injured or if it gets overstrained. So one of the things we have, like myofascial release, with a myofascia, myo means muscle. So here's some other terms in here. You see, myo always means muscle. But wait, there's more. You also have this thing called sarco, which means also muscle. Okay, sarco and myo. One is Latin, one is Greek. Remember how way back we were talking about how like most of the vocabulary in anatomy and physiology is either Greek, Latin, people's names, or just whatever they made up. Okay, so that's where we're kind of going with this. Now, the myofascia, think of it like a giant leotard. So if you have a piece here and you have some injury in here and it pulls, you can see how it pulls down into my arm. Same thing kind of happens throughout the entire body. We can have areas of the shoulder cause problems down in the hip, or areas of the thigh cause problems in the upper back or low back. And that's just kind of a myofascial thing. It's a very subtle, it's a very gel-like material. It has a property called thixotrophic change, which means it can go from a liquid to a solid and back again, kind of like butter can do that, you know, but this one can almost do it very, very quickly. There's entire techniques of massage therapy and chiropractic and physiotherapy and physical therapy which rely and use that concept. So, but we're going to get into kind of the next section down. So as we take a muscle, and we're going to erase this real quick, as we take any old muscle and we split it or we cut it, remember we were talking about cutting it, let's do over here, cut like this, and you have the muscle goes back in that way, and then you have a little section, it's covered, right, it goes like this, or like here. We have this section here, we just transverse slice down, and we have what's called the epimysium. Epi means around or on, right? Epi. The epitome is like the top of it. So the epimysium, my, means something to do with muscle. So that's the major covering. The next one that's around it is called the perimysium. Okay, and then we're going to go down. Okay, perimysium, you have another section in here. It's going to be wrapped around perimysium. There's a bunch of these different things, and then you're going to have what are called fascicles. That's these guys, and through here, little chunks of muscle. The fascicles are going to have fasciculi, okay, which is little things. And you get like fasciculitis, which is a muscle twitch like in your eye when you think everybody's is twitching like this, and you think you're winking. You can't see it, but that's what it is. And the last thing is called the sarcolemma. Now, the sarcolemma is a part of the we would call it the myocyte, but nobody calls it that. It's called the myofibril, and a myofibril is actually the muscle cell. The functional unit of muscle, this is important, so write this down. The functional unit of muscle is the sarcomere, and that's what does the action. Okay, so in this section here, we're going to go over like actually the sarcomere itself. We're going to like figure out which parts of it are which, and we'll name all those. But here we go. So we start at the fascia, and then we have epimysium, then perimysium, then we have fascicles, and then from fascicles, fasciculi, and then the sarcolemma. So the myofibrils and sarcolemma. So remember, myofibril is the muscle cell. So one muscle cell is very, very long. And you may have, it's a cylindrical, so it looks like a cylinder. And it's like a little cylinder, like this. And then there's going to be another little thing inside. This is the sarcomere. Okay, so mere means section, and sarco means muscle. So it's a muscle section, that's all it is. And inside here, you can have this like this. It's going to be what's called the Z line. So the sarcomere, S-A-R-C-O-M-E-R-E, sarcomere. Sarcomere is a section. Now, in the sarcomere, there's a couple other fellas in there too. You have this M zone, which is in the middle, okay, and we have this guy is called a Z line because it looked like a bunch of Z's, stacked on top of each other. And then inside there, there's a big old fat guy called myosin. Myosin is bigger, it's in the middle. M for middle, myosin. And then on the outsides of it, I'm trying to use different colors, but it's not working, are these little tiny ones called actin, okay, and they're like this. And actin, okay, there's actin, which attaches to Z lines, so A to Z. And then there's myosin in the middle, or S-I-N, myosin, whatever. Okay, so there's myosin and actin. That's the functional unit of the muscle. So that's the part that actually contracts. Here's another funny thing about muscles is muscles never push, they always pull. So even doing this motion is actually contracting this muscle underneath, pushing the hand down. Got it? Okay, so you can't push, muscles don't push by themselves. They have to use a lever. Okay, and here we have the trochanter, and we have the trochlea and the capitulum and all the humerus and the ulna and radius, and that's like a hinge in here. So as you're pulling on the bottom part, it straightens out the arm. That would be pushing motion, right? It's a contraction of the triceps muscle down through here, which we'll get into like muscles later. Okay, but right now we're getting into the physiology of this sucker. So remember, many sarcomeres are attached to each other along that myofibril or that muscle cell, and they contract and contract and contract and contract with each neurological impulse, which that's what we've got to go into next. That's the next part of the physiology of the muscle. So the number one part here is going to be know the functions of muscles, which is, remember, heat, movement, posture, those kind of things. Actually moving anything inside the body or outside the body or moving the body actually is all a function of the muscle system. And then the second type, the second thing is the main covering, which is the myofascia, and the fascia, the epimysium, the perimysium, the fascicles, and then the sarcolemma inside the myocyte or the myocyte, the myofibril. Myofibril is the muscle cell. So my question to you, and I want you to put it down in the comment section, this is how you're going to get credit for this, by the way, guys, is tell me the two words for muscle, the Greek one and the Latin one. I don't care which one's which. I mean, you just got to give me those two. And remember, that was going to be sarco or myo. Those are the two things. That's how we're going to do it today. So tell me, write those down below so I know that you've seen it. And don't forget to subscribe down here and subscribe and give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down or whatever. And make sure your comment is to answer the questions, okay? So do your homework and stuff, and we're going to go into this part two. This is part one. So we're going to go part two of the muscle. There we go. That's going to be our thing of muscle. Okay. Part two of muscle is going to be, we're going to go over also, these are the things we have to go over next, right, guys? So we're going to have to go over the three types of muscles. We're going to have to go to the motor unit. We're going to have to go over the sodium-potassium pump and how the heck calcium has to do with all this stuff. Then we're going to go to things like twitch, tone, and spasm. We're going to also go into isotonic versus isometric. And we're going to go over origin, insertion, and then a bunch of vocabulary based on the motion of muscles and how they work. Okay, so there we go. Don't forget to answer the question down the bottom. That's how I'm going to do my basically the attendance for this thing. It's much easier to do this way. Take care. We'll see you soon, and don't forget to subscribe, like, share on all the social media, and all that kind of stuff. We're going to keep going. I am stuck at home like all of you guys are because of the old coronavirus at this time back in April of 2020. So maybe this will be watched by other people, and hopefully it is, and hopefully you got some good information out of it. Anyway, talk to you later. Bye.